So, a few days ago, I found something quite interesting. On May the 1st, 1926, Ford Motor Company becomes one of the first companies in America to reduce working day from 6 to 5-day, 40-hour week. Henry Ford said that the 5-day work week was instituted in order to increase productivity, and although workers' time on the job has decreased, they were expected to spend more effort while they were there, and the rest of the world soon follow. We're nearly a century after, and with more and more productivity tools, more technology that help us being more productive. However, nothing has really changed in terms of working days and working hours. So the question of the day is, will the 4-day work week ever become a reality for the majority of us? Because the pandemic has impacted us profoundly in many ways, and including the way we work. So there is no surprise that the conversation about 4-day work week has actually come up quite regularly in the recent years. And let's just be clear, a 4-day work week means that we are reducing the standard 40 hours work 5 days a week to 32 hours and spread that over 4 days with no reduction in salary. So essentially being paid for 5 days work but doing 4 days of work. And of course the argument for the 4-day work week is rather obvious. It improves our productivity, it improves our quality of life, which eventually will have a positive impact to our mental health, better staff retention, and better staff satisfaction. But then at the same time, it can also promote an equal workplace because, as you know, many women have to take time off due to childcare responsibilities, and many of those are not able to come back to work as soon as they plan for. By reducing that to 4 days, more and more women will be able to come back to work sooner, if they want to, of course. Now, last month I asked you guys if you think the 4-day work week will become a new normal in the next 5 years, and surprisingly, many of you said yes. So in this video, I want to explore the concept of the 4-day work week a little bit more, and to see why some companies may be quite reluctant to adopt this new style of work, and how can you negotiate the 4-day work week in my personal opinion. So one of the main arguments for the 4-day work week is clearly the increase in productivity. Now, this is something that I couldn't really get my head around to begin with, but looking at research, it is clear that there is currently a disconnect between the time that we put in at work and productivity. The productivity keeps going up, however, our hour has been stagnated. Over time, all of us are able to produce more and more outputs per hour. And if you think about it, do we actually need more and more outputs or products? I feel like on Earth in general, we are producing to the level that it keeps inducing our consumptions. I do personally believe that we are consuming more and more every year due to our ability to produce more and not the other way around. In 1980, the average American bought 12 items of clothing per year. Now it's 68 per year, and half of them will be worn 3 times or less. Go search for any product on just one website, Amazon, and you'll see hundreds and thousands of choices way beyond what you originally thought you need. So my question is then, is it a good idea to prioritize productivity over mental health? Isn't it time now to, instead of pushing employees to work more and more in order to produce more and more, isn't it not time now just to give them a little bit of work-life balance by asking them to perhaps work a bit less because the productivity has actually increased over time? Because at the end of the day, happy and healthy colleagues leads to happy and healthy customers, according to Atombank, who fully adopted the 4 days work week. And at the time of recording, more than 30 companies has already adopted or do a trial on the 4 days work week. I mean, we're talking about 6 or 7 million businesses registered in the UK. So the numbers of the companies doing this 4 days work week is still teeny tiny small. However, I think overall it is still a positive move, and hopefully at the end of the year or next year we'll see more and more more companies joining this move. But how come some companies are still reluctant to adopt this idea? And I think one of the main reasons is the costs to the company. Because 4-day work week means that you are able to get the same pay, however, you need to be able to get the same amount of work done. And we all know about these unproductive activities that we do at work all the time, or these meaningless meetings where you just attend and contribute absolutely nothing and get nothing back. And actually, Elon Musk said this best, so I'll leave this with him.
We also have a rule that if somebody's in a meeting and finds that this meeting is not helping them in a meaningful way and they are not contributing to the meeting, they should just leave.
Just get up and pack.
Just get up and walk.
And even though we cut down on our unproductive working hours, it doesn't always mean that we get 1 day worth back. A lot of us, a lot of time, we work more hours than we are contracted anyway. So reducing your work day may mean that the company have to substitute that day or that workload by hiring someone else, which means that it will incur more costs to the company. The good thing is that it should then increase the employment rate because companies will be hiring more people. However, at the same time, it will reduce the company's profitability, and that is their main concern. And that kind of leads to another point, which is the competitive advantage. Now that Brexit is done and dusted, Britain will have to compete with the rest of the world. And it is a known knowledge that in general, human capital in the UK is more expensive than the East in general, and even some countries in the West. UK-based companies who want to adopt this 4-day work week might worry that the reduction in their profits might make them less attractive to investors. And I'm sure there will be some that still want to argue that the reason why the 4-day work week is not fully adopted yet is because it is too much of a change, it is too radical. But hear this, in the 1800s, the standard working hours in the week was 100 hours, and we managed over time to reduce it down to 40 hours a week. So in the grand scheme of things, this is not radical at all. So can the 4-day work week become a new normal for the majority of us? And in my personal humble opinion, it depends. For office workers, I think it's more possible and is much more likely to happen to us. However, for people working in a client-facing role in a service industry, that will be more challenging because companies will have to hire more people in order to substitute those hours, and that will drive more costs to them. Also, I don't really think it's going to be something that will happen to the majority of us in the next 5 years. In the next decade, maybe, but 5 years, I think it's just too soon. And if I were to negotiate the 4-day work week tomorrow with my employer, here's my tactics. I would go to them in my annual review and say that I do not want a pay cut this year, and neither do I want a pay rise. However, I do want my hours reduced. And this is like having a 20% pay rise. So this is going to be quite difficult for a lot of companies to even consider. However, what I would suggest is that I would suggest to them that maybe we can do a trial run for 3 months and 6 months and see how I cope with the workload. What I would also suggest to them is that I will, over this time, implement some new technology or automation to help me cope with my workload and help me work faster. I'm really interested to know your thoughts on this topic, because I find it so interesting that the work culture is continuously changing and now changing towards the way that employees' voices are heard. If you're already working 4 days a week, congratulations, and please feel free to share with us how you went about it. I'm sure that will benefit a lot of people, including myself. Last but not least, I thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.